Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the full council. I am Councillor Jeremy Cottam, Chairman of West Berkshire Council. The meeting is being live streamed via YouTube, so members of the public are able to follow the proceedings. Council members are present in the council chamber for this meeting. Any members of council who are in attendance remotely will be entitled to speak and ask questions when invited to do so by myself. The officers in attendance are the Chief Executive, Nigel Lynn, Executive Director for Resources, Joseph Holmes, the Executive Director for People, Adult Social Care, Paul Coe, Dave Raitt, Service Manager, Children's and Family Services, and the Executive Director of Place, Claire Lawrence. Sarah Clark, the Monitoring Officer, will be the legal advisor to the meeting. I'm assisted by Ben Ryan, the clerk to the meeting, and by Stephen Chard, who will be the Zoom host. Welcome to all honorary aldermen in attendance. Before we start this evening's meeting, I would like to take the opportunity to remind members that we are subject to the Council's Code of Conduct, which requires us to uphold certain standards, including, importantly, respect. Members across the chamber may not always agree with one another, but I would ask that in our disagreements, we endeavour to always be respectful to the views of the others. During the meeting, when a motion has been proposed and seconded, I will ask the monitoring officer to conduct the vote by a show of hands. So, moving to agenda item 1, apologies for our absence. I will be asking the monitoring officer if any apologies for absence have been received.
Thank you, Chairman. I confirm apologies have been received from Councillors Heather Codling, Nigel Foote, who will try to attend later. He is currently at a mayoral appointment, and Councillor Max Shakespeare. We've also received apologies from Honorary Aldermen and Alderwomen Gordon Lundy, Graham Jones, Hilary Cole, Keith Chopping, Rick Jones and Adrian Edwards. I don't know if there are any further apologies from the floor. Thank you. So I think there's some further apologies.
Thanks, Chairman. Councillor Kander apologises for his lateness. He'll be with us very shortly.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Alderman Mollylock and Andrew Rose. Very short.
Thank you.
I would like to draw members' attention to the sad news that the parish councillor Bill Graham, a parish councillor representative on the governance committee, recently passed away. This sad news was marked by a minute's silence at the recent meeting of the governance committee, and he will be sorely missed. I have attended a number of events since council last met, including the departure of the Lord Lieutenant's retirement party. He did a very good job, and we have now a new Lord Lieutenant. I went to the opening of the special school at Castle at Theo. I also attended the Greenham Trust Charity Awards, the citizenship ceremonies, again, always with pleasure, RAF Welford, the Remembrance Service there, Thatcham Remembrance Service, and Royal Berkshire Archives. I welcomed His Royal Highness the Duke of Gloucester, who bestowed the Royal on the Berkshire Archives. So exciting. Willink School for their new building opening, and the Faraday football pitch opening. Carers' Rights Day, which I found really informative, met all the stall holders and a number of the members of public there. And also, finally, the food bank.
Yes, I went to the old library event at Berkshire Judicial Service, Newbury Southampton's AGM, the Volunteer Centre Service Day. Went to the Poppy train, that was really nice. Myself and Councillor Haynes gave a wreath that went into London. Newbury Remembrance Service and West Berkshire Toy Appeal.
Thank you. I believe the leader wishes to make a contribution.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was just to say that at the last meeting of the executive, we held a minute's silence for David and Celia Barlow, who were tragically murdered in Uganda. So just to add into your minute's silence that you did at governance.
Thank you. Very sad indeed. Just before I get into the core of the meeting, we will be changing the agenda slightly. We will be going with legal officer.
Thank you. We have received notification this evening that there is now a new political group of the council, the minority group, and therefore agenda item 18 will be withdrawn as the details in that are now out of date. A report will come to a later council meeting as soon as reasonably practicable to reflect the creation of the new political group.
Thank you. So moving to agenda item 3, the minutes. I will also move that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 5th of October 2023 be signed as a correct record. Pauses. Councillor,
I have some comments.
please go ahead. Oh, well, you want
You want the comments now?
well,
On the minutes before you move them, or?
we'll have the seconder first. Yes.
I'll second that, Chairman.
Thank you. Please proceed. Councillor Brooks.
I draw your attention to page 16, paragraph 5, second line. I'll read it. Councillor Jeff Brooks made concluding comments by saying that he thanked all councillors for their positive comments. It was expected there would be bricks back. I've got to tell you, I did not really expect bricks back across the chamber.
Yeah.
I was referring to brickbats, which actually, Councillor Bowick, could mean pieces of brick, but actually another definition, and the one I meant was an unkind or unfavourable remark or caustic criticism. Brickbats, just a small, and it also shows I read them occasionally, or at least my attributed remarks. Thank you very much.
I think we'll do that. Yes, I'll have Councillor Burke.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a point of detail. Honourable Alderman Quentin Webb is spelt Quentin rather than in the minutes.
Thank you. And Councillor Lockhart.
Chairman, I speak for Councillor Aloka as well. If I have your permission, sir, thank you very much. Councillor Aloka and I gave our apologies for the last meeting, which wasn't recorded. I'd be grateful if that the minutes could show that, please.
Of course, thank you.
And also the esteemed estimable gentleman to your right, Councillor Billy Drummond, is on page 11 of the agenda.
Oh, yes, it's spelled C.
Yes, spelled incorrectly. So,
Well spotted.
Thank you
Thank you
very
for your
much.
contribution. So with those amendments, can I? Oh, sorry, Councillor.
Thank you, Chairman. On page 9, it says that I said that the Compton referendum had been recently, but it wasn't. It was in February 2022. So I didn't use the word recently. And also it talks about a cycle out, which I think should be cycle route. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Colville. Are there any further comments or questions? No, in that case, I'll put the minutes to vote, please.
Thank you. Can I please ask all members in favour of approving the minutes with those subject to those corrections and amendments, please raise their hands. Thank you. Any against or abstentions? Chairman, I can confirm that those minutes are approved and may be signed.
Thank you. We're moving to agenda item 4, any declarations of interests. I will ask the monitoring officer if there have been any declarations of interest submitted prior to the meeting, and if there are any declarations from the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. There haven't been any notified in writing prior to the meeting, and I believe there may be some from the floor. Thank you. So do you want to call Councillor Sumner?
Thank you, Chairman. With regards to item number 17, delivery of the public health functions in West Berkshire, due to my employment with the NHS, we work quite closely on a commissioner provider basis with public health, and therefore, although I will stay in the room for the debate, I will abstain from the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor.
Thank you. And in similar vein, because I am now married to Councillor Sumner, then
Congratulations.
then I should declare an interest. I've gone red on it. But I don't believe that should preclude me from taking part in the debate or the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to agenda item 5, petitions. May I ask members if there are any petitions they wish to present to the council? We are not aware of any, but if a petition is presented, we'll move on to the next paragraph. Oops. So in that case, we will just move. Nobody volunteering anything. We'll go to item 6 then. And wish to thank the members of the public that have submitted questions. The maximum amount of time allocated for public questions is 30 minutes. If we run out of time, any questions that are yet to be asked will receive written responses following the meeting. The questions will appear on the screen and will be answered by the relevant portfolio holder. Questioners will be given the opportunity to ask a supplementary question. This should be to clarify the response provided and must not introduce any new business. So may I ask Councillor Denise Gaines to answer the question A from Laurie Derbyshire. You stand.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Derbyshire. As part of our commitment to reaching net zero within West Berkshire, we're providing on-street charging points for residents to help them make the switch to electric vehicles. In order to determine whether a site is suitable, many factors are considered. Now, I've got 8 on here, but what I will do is I will actually give you a list of this after via email afterwards. If that's okay. So that they have requested and has been received from the resident, councillor or parish provide an on-street charging point on a residential road. Secondly, does every property have off-street parking, or are there some properties without off-street parking, and are there parked cars on the carriageway, i.e. is that sort of stopping cars from being able to charge their vehicles? Does the road have any street lights? Are there any parking restrictions? Will the charging point obstruct access, egress to or from an existing driveway, i.e. being in the way? Will there be a demand for a charging point, i.e. are there electric cars on that street or adjacent streets? Is the road part of the public highway, i.e. is it adopted and maintained by West Berkshire? Is the footway wide enough to facilitate a charge point and not obstruct wheelchairs or pushchairs? Have you got a supplementary?
No, thank you for your answer. No, I do not have a such supplementary.
I'll make sure you get that, and also some details about the strategy as well, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We warmly welcome that question. So we will go to question B to be answered by John Goatley. Sorry, Martin Colston.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Goatley. So the answer to your question is the council is not aware of any illegal flooding downstream from the site. We are, however, aware of historic flooding in this location. The new administration has decided to liaise with both Thames Water and the Environment Agency to investigate options to mitigate the flooding. A positive discussion has already taken place earlier this month with the Environment Agency, and a meeting will take place with Thames Water in the near future. Do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much for your answer. The mere fact that there's flooding from a man-made source means that it's illegal, full stop. But I'm going to ask you a question that's very easy to answer and see if you're different from the Conservatives. What would you do in my situation if your garden was being flooded by water that you believed was illegal from a single point source?
Well, thank you for that question. I would be asking the same questions as you. I've given you the answer. Hopefully we'll make some progress.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. We move to question C by Alan Pearce and Janine Lewis. Councillor Janine Lewis will answer.
Good evening, Mr. Pearce. So thank you for your question. The countryside manager was merely reflecting what he'd been told by football groups that had used the pitch in the past. There was never an intention to mislead, and I'm happy to withdraw this. Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, I do. It's a really important issue whether the football ground is contaminated or not, because it may well bring forward regeneration of the London Road Industrial Estate. Because coming to the executive is the Bond Riverside Regeneration Programme review. Now, the football pitch could be used as part of the drainage strategy with drainage crates as part of a holistic drainage strategy. But if it's contaminated, those costs will be vastly greater. So the council have that two options here to make.
Sorry,
Yes,
what is the? Can we move to the actual question, please?
Yeah, I'm coming to the question. So you can either.
It's a supplementary question.
Yeah, you've got two options. The council has got two options, and would you agree? The two options are you develop the football ground with the drainage crates and strategy with an agreement with landowners downstream, or you use an holistic approach to whole development.
To interrupt you, but it's really a supplementary question to the one for clarification of the first question. It seems to be rather a statement rather than a question. So I think we're clearly where you are. Please, can you just ask a supplementary question?
I think I've made the point, actually. It doesn't need to be answered in actual fact. I think probably members see where I'm going with this. So I don't require an answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we go to question D by Alison May, to be answered by Councillor Lee Dillon.
Is Alison on Zoom or? So, Mr. Chairman,
a written answer?
It's a very detailed answer. So I was going to give, if Alison was in the room, I was going to give her a copy of this. So it probably is better to have it in writing. Thank you.
Thank you. So we move to question E by John Goatley, and to be answered by Councillor Martin Colston.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you again, Mr. Goatley. So the answer to your question is yes. However, as I said in my earlier answer this evening, the council is committed to looking at options to mitigate the existing flood risk for the properties on London Road. Do you have a supplementary?
Short one. Thank you very much for your answer. So far, we've been into regenerating the London Road estate 18, 20 years, something like that. And drainage has always formed the issue. And the main reason is this solid thing to say we're going to stay in the line. So are you actually committed to staying in that red line 100%?
Thank you for that question.
I'm not quite sure I understand the question. The red line of the London Road Industrial Estate?
Yeah, the red line that was put around the industrial estate, and the previous administration said we will not go out of it.
I'm not 100% sure, so I'll find an answer and send it to you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Question F, again by Mr. Goatley, to be answered by Janine Lewis. Councillor Janine Lewis.
Good evening, Mr. Goatley. So I've got some figures here, so rather than read out the actual number, I'm just going to do each digit. So the cost to date is 185,516.83. So £185,516.83. This includes all utility and perimeter fencing costs. This does not include the proposed high-level goal catcher fencing, which is estimated at £45,000 to supply and install. Do you have a supplementary?
Yes, please. But thank you for that answer. It's absolutely astronomical, isn't it? It's way over the top of what it should have cost. Every day I walk past there, almost every day, I see the workmen.
So thank you. That's your supplementary question that you're asking.
Is it? Who's
Do we
looking
agree
after
whether it's
this
an astronomical cost or not?
So,
Councillor?
yes, things are put out to tender, go through procurement. So we take on board the best of the prices and the workmanship as well that goes into it. And I'd also like to say that the contractors, when they were getting Faraday Road ready, there was a lot of goodwill put into that. So people are understanding that really the cost isn't anything. We've given them a facility. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we will be moving to agenda item 7, membership of committees. As I've said, the item 18 has been postponed or cancelled, should I say, and over to the monitoring officer to explain.
So, Chairman, I believe that there are a number of changes to be proposed to committees now under agenda item 7, which, if moved, will be displayed on the screen.
Leader of the Council.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we could have that slide appear on the screen, please.
Sorry, these were very rapid changes at the last moment, so please
That's okay.
be patient.
So while that's being put onto the screen, there are changes proposed to Western Area Planning Governance, Health Scrutiny, Personnel and Scrutiny Commission. Some of these are to reflect the change in our group composition and the formalisation of a minority group. So I will move them as proposed on the screen, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Obviously, you know, this is a bit strange because it's down as a verbal item and from, I said most of us, this is the first time we've seen this piece of information. So I really don't understand why that can't be sent out well in advance of any meeting to be able to debate things. I also don't really understand if you're pulling item 18, why, as we have already said, what we'd like to happen with exactly the same allocation of seats from the new minority group, why on earth we can't just get on with it this evening, get it done, and then basically don't have to wait for another meeting, have to wait for yet more officer time to write another report. It just seems to be a waste of time. So why are we not just taking the opportunity here? It takes 2 seconds and it's done. Why is it only that?
I think there is a procedure and I will ask my legal officer to explain.
Thank you, Chairman. So the council has a legal duty to consider the allocation of seats to reflect the political balance of the council. The report that was at agenda item 18 reflected a change to the political groups that had occurred in October, and a report was being proposed, therefore, to reflect the allocation of seats to reflect that change. We have, just prior to this meeting, and there have been conversations over the last week, but we have only today received formal notification of the creation of a new group. It is important in the interest of transparency that members of this council and members of the public have full details of the report that will confirm which members are members of any particular political group, and that seats are allocated on that basis, having regard to the legislative framework. I have advised that a report will come back to council as soon as reasonably practicable in accordance with our legal duties, and therefore the changes that are proposed tonight reflect the allocations that this council agreed at council in May at its annual council meeting. The council is under a duty to give effect to the wishes of the group, the relevant group, once seats have been allocated. So the administration are proposing changes to seats that have been allocated to it, and council should give effect to those proposed changes.
Councillor Abs.
Yes, you're stating what the law states so clearly, and all I'm stating is that you're now asking for another report and to then, I assume the meeting on the 19th of December will be, the report will be coming forward. Can you please confirm that? And I'd just like to correct you, you did not get notification that today officially, that the chief executive told me in writing that all he needed was a note to him saying what the group had been formed, and that was done on Tuesday. It was not done today. So we have had at least 48 hours to do this. Everybody, we have managed to meet as a group. The actual number of seats on the committees doesn't change for this group. It's still 7. And all we needed to do was assign the relevant people to the relevant groups. I honestly don't know why we're taking so much time to just do a simple thing.
Well, I mean, this did not go out with the summons and the agenda. And quite frankly, the first opportunity we actually had was this meeting to put it on the screen. So, I mean, clearing it is one thing that it can go ahead, but actually having it officially noted within the actual agenda of the council, I think is important, because otherwise you're asking all the members around here just to make a decision on what they've seen there. Sorry, I don't think that's equally fair. It's an important issue. And, you know, it has to be done properly. And I assure you, we will bring this forward as soon as we can.
Is that an assurance of December the 19th meeting then, please, Chairman?
I will certainly do it as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Abs. Any other comments? Otherwise, we put it to vote. No. So we've had a proposer and a seconder. Please show hands.
Okay. Thank you. Any opposed? And any abstentions? Thank you, Chairman. I can confirm that those changes proposed to committees have been carried.
Thank you. So we will be moving to items 8 to 15. So These are to note, unless there's any comments or questions. So noted. So we move to item 16, statement of licensing policy review and consultation. May I invite Councillor Lee Dillon to formally move the recommendation contained within the report.
Move the recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
May I ask for a seconder?
I formally second the motion.
Thank you. You wish to reserve your right to speak, Councillor Bartlett?
I reserve my right at this present time. Thank you.
May I invite Councillor Dillon to introduce the report, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is the statement of licensing policy review and consultation. So in accordance with the Licensing Act 2003, the council is required to have a licensing policy in place, and the policy needs to be reviewed at least every 5 years. The current policy was adopted in December 2018. Following a thorough review, the document was reordered, reformatted and rewritten. As a result, the changes suggested in this iteration constitute minor modifications. These changes include stated explicitly that each licence would have a condition attached to it, licensees being encouraged to work in partnership with a local pub watch scheme if one is in place, and encouraging licensed premises to participate in schemes such as Ask Angela, Ask Annie and anti-drink spiking initiatives. It will make use of Security Industry Authority, so SIA, licensed door supervisors or stewards where appropriate to do so, and reference to the agent of change principles. This means that someone responsible for a change in a vicinity is also responsible for the impact of that change. Changes arising from the revised Section 182 guidance, including changes to the number and duration of temporary event notices, as members may refer to as TENS notices. The amended draft policy agreed at the July 2023 Licensing Committee meeting was subject to a 10-week consultation period, starting on the 12th of July and running until the 20th of September this year. We are very pleased to receive 47 responses to the consultation, which was considerably more than the 3 received in 2018. I won't go through those responses in great detail, as they are set out in Appendix B to the report, but would like to thank all those that took time to respond. I note that at the Licensing Committee meeting in November, members requested that in future we include those tasked with educating our young people to be in the list of consultees. And I have asked officers to ensure that this happens when the policy is next reviewed. The changes arising from the consultation are set out in paragraphs 4.10 and 4.11 of the report. And the policy, I'm pleased to say, received cross-party support at the Licensing Committee, and I would therefore propose that we adopt it for publication on the 1st of December. Thank you.
Sorry. Any questions or comments from the floor? Otherwise, I will go to Councillor Barnett.
Oh, thank you, Chairman. Members, I never thought I would be standing up so quickly. I thought it would create a considerable number of questions. Chairman, members, in seconding this motion, the result of this particular document is a testament, I might say, to lots of hard work which has been undertaken by the licensing officers in making sure that it was fit for purpose under present circumstances and obviously legislation, which of course the proposal was mentioned already. It's gone through various stages of consultation, and we were very pleased that we actually did have some responses during that consultation. And again, the proposal was already mentioned, so there are some of the responses. The responses, of course, consultation was obviously the committee structure, affected organisations, and that was many organisations that were affected by this particular document. And of course, at the end of the day, the officers did take note of many of these comments that were put forward, which again is a testament of encompassing views of the local community and the local affected people that where this document would be used. So I therefore
support, I would therefore ask members to support the motion that's been put forward tonight and put it forward as a document which we can use in future reference.
Thank you, Councillor Barnett. Does Councillor Dillon wish to add anything?
Nothing further to add, Mr. Chairman.
Right. I will now ask the monitoring officer to take a vote by a show of hands, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I please ask all members in favour of approving the adoption of the new licensing policy to please raise their hands? Thank you. Any opposed or abstentions? Thank you, Chairman. I can confirm that that has been carried.
Thank you. So now moving on to agenda item 17, the delivery of public health functions within West Berkshire. May I invite Councillor Jenny Lewis to formally move the recommendations contained within the report.
I wish to move this report, Mr. Chairman. I wish to move this report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. May I ask for a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Martha Vickers. Do you wish to reserve your right to speak later?
Yes, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. So may I ask Councillor Ginning Lewis to introduce the report, please?
So thank you, Paul Coe, for writing a very comprehensive report. Following the LGA peer review, it was determined that public health requires its own Director of Public Health, or I'll refer to this as the DPH. It is a statutory requirement to have a DPH. It has been determined that West Berks share the DPH with our neighbours in Reading. It has also been determined that the DPH will be hosted by Reading and the cost of the DPH will be shared. Both Reading and West Berks will each have a public health team that will report directly to the DPH, and the DPH will report into both chief executives. The recommendation is based on the belief that this approach will support the appropriate focus on local challenges and resources linked to the differing needs of the local populations. It will also ensure that the voice of public health can be heard loudly within each authority, and it will ensure compliance with the relevant legal framework. It will support leadership based on public health principles to the benefit of both local authorities and the populations that they serve. It is also worth noting that failure to recruit a DPH would lead to legal breaches and negative impacts on the health of the local population. So Council is asked to approve the recruitment of a DPH.
Thank you. Councillor McKinnon, you would.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Lewis, for that introduction. We, I think, are perfectly happy with the principle that's in this paper. One of the concerns that I had was actually about the reporting line here, because in the appendix to the report, it certainly appears that the new DPH will be reporting to the Reading Council Chief Executive Officer, but there's no reporting line up to West Berkshire, which is not quite what Councillor Lewis said there. And this isn't question time, so I'm not asking you a question that you need to respond to right now, but I wonder if when you come to your closing remarks, you might be able to clarify that for us. But in general, we're perfectly happy with this proposal.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments? Would the seconder, Councillor Martha Vickers? Oh, sorry, Councillor Bowen. Apologies.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Lewis. Question that I have is how are we going to be? How is this body going to be able to scrutinise the transition from the existing arrangement to the new one? I'm perfectly happy to see this paper go ahead, but we need to know that it's progressing well.
Councillor Lewis, you want to respond or?
Yes, I'll just respond just by saying that this is going to be held through scrutiny as well. And just with regards to Councillor McKinnon's question, if you imagine dotted lines, public health team in either camp, they report to the Director of Public Health, then the Director of Public Health will report out to the chief officers. Anything else will come back down, and I don't know the final details of how the teams are going to operate unless Mr. Paulco wishes to add anything.
I think the only thing I'd add, thank you very much, Terry, for that question. I guess the way I've set out the structure chart in the paper, the thick line is essentially the kind of pay and rations piece, and the dotted line is so it's reporting in principle. It's not going to be the kind of formal, as I say, the pay and rations bit, but it is going to be reporting to regular contact with and following instructions from the chief exec. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I wonder if Mr. Coker just mentioned a bit about how we monitor the progression, the transition.
So I think there are a couple of elements in this. One is that we are the next. Once the principles are agreed, one of the next steps is to bottom out the memorandum of understanding between the two councils, so we've got really clear kind of customer relationship there, where we can really be clear about who's going to get what and how we'll, the redress if required. I also think that it's really important to talk about the Public Health Board, which is going to be going forward a really important vehicle to bring a bit of extra transparency to the way that the public health grant is used and the benefits that come from that.
Thank you. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you. If you forgive me, Chairman. I don't have a question, but an observation. This paper is very scant. And I think if it had been fleshed out a bit more, then it would have given everybody a bit more confidence. But we're perfectly happy with it. So
I think the devil is in the detail, and that detail has to be discussed as an ongoing negotiation before we're happy to combine with Reading. So, Councillor Vickers, unless there's any further points? No?
Thank you. I'd just like to welcome Councillor Burke, Councillor McKinnon's comments. It's important that we scrutinise public health and get it right. It is an extremely important function of this council. A Liberal Democrat initiative in the past, you will know that we bring public health back into the council. It affects the aspects of all our residents' lives, and I think it's good that we have an opportunity to raise the profile of public health, and I look forward to more discussions around the area of public health in the future. But I think, they've raised the important point that we do need to look at the details. And having been somebody who worked as a NHS employee, as a health visitor in both areas of both Reading and here, I can see that we have very distinct differences in our communities. And I think that is addressed in the report, but I think that's something we need to scrutinise and make sure that we address the different communities equally, and that we don't somehow lose out to Reading, that we really need to make sure that our needs are addressed as well as theirs. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lewis, do you wish to make any ending comments?
Nothing further to add, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. In that case, I will ask the monitoring officer to take a vote by hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I please ask all members in favour of the recommendation to please raise their hands now? Thank you. Any opposed or abstentions? Thank you. Noted. Thank you, Chairman. I can confirm that that proposal has been carried.
Thank you. So as we've discussed, moving on from now to agenda item 19, members' questions. Yes, Councillor Marsh.
Thank you very much. Sorry, just briefly on item 18. I know it's been removed from the agenda, and I understand why, because the list at 5.2 is no longer accurate. But just to reiterate the point that was made earlier in the agreement from the leader, that the new arrangement should be recognised as soon as possible. Now, as things stand, or stood until very recently, that would be on the budget meeting, which I don't think is going to be sitting around discussing who's on what committee and what political group they're in. So we would ask that this could be resolved before then. And as I now understand it, there's to be a special meeting of the council later this month. If that happens, could we ask that this item, which will only take a couple of minutes, it's a pretty straightforward, non-controversial matter, just recognising the existence of the new group and making our own minor adjustments or relatively minor adjustments to the committee in the way that the leadership just did. So could we again make a plea that this is dealt with without having to wait until the budget meeting, which won't happen at the budget meeting, so it'll then be the meeting after that in March. That seems a long time to fail to catch up with what is now the new reality of the way the groups are structured. So that would be our plea. I don't know if the leader is minded to.
Well, Councillor, that's down to myself.
Points made.
And as I reassured Councillor Abbs, I will swiftly proceed with this so we can get it done as soon as possible. Thank you. Councillor McKinnon.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, this is now on member questions. So my question F was submitted obviously before the discussion at the Scrutiny Commission on Tuesday. In view of the discussion at the Scrutiny Commission, I'm happy to withdraw that question to Councillor Cottingham.
Thank you, Councillor. So, members, the questions will appear on the screen and will be answered by the relevant portfolio holder. The questioner will be given the opportunity to ask a supplementary question. This should be to clarify the response provided, and it must not introduce any new business. Councillor Gawley, will you please answer the question A from Councillor Abbs, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. Oh, you want me to go to the podium or? I'll go to the podium. Thank you, Councillor Abbs, for the question. The Council's current approach of collecting dry recycling materials separately at the curb side achieves a high quality of output, which is attractive to the recycling market. This is a service level that many councils aspire to, and it's uncommon to find authorities with existing separate recycling collections reverting to mixed or commingling collections. Excuse me. A change to commingled recycling collections can capture a greater quantity of materials. However, the material quality will be significantly diminished due to an anticipated higher amount of contamination. As part of the emerging waste strategy, the implications of having commingled recycling collections in West Berkshire will be assessed. Do you have a supplementary?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by the answer and the way you structured it, given EAG only just happened and there was an expert there that basically the question was simply, are we going to look in detail at this other option? What you stated is what's actually in there, that current knowledge is better quality output. So the supplementary is, are we really not even going to look at the latest technology, which leads to much easier rises in recycling rates? Because if the technology improves at the sorting plants, the quality would remain high, and it offers all sorts of other benefits in terms of picking, the number of road trips, the amount of bins that's there, and so on and so on and so forth. So could you not even commit to asking just to look?
As I mentioned, as part of the emerging waste strategy, we'll be reviewing the options that are available, across commingling and non and segregation at source. We'll be reviewing those options.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no need to go to the plinth if you don't wish. It's not normal. So if we go to question B from Phil Barnett to be answered by Councillor Denise Gaines.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Barnett. The use of drones in the UK are covered by the Civil Aviation Authority's Drone and Model Aircraft Code, as I'm sure you're probably aware, actually. These rules and the advice given give stricter guidance and restrictions about the use of drones, which give safe minimum distances from people and the transport network of 50 metres. However, it is the police who are responsible for acting when it's believed that the requirements of the law have not been met. If you or any member of the public have specific concerns about the use of drones, the recommendation is that it's reported this to the police. However, Councillor Barnett, I will ask, I'm going to raise awareness and provide more clarity. I will also ask if this is brought to our next joint agency meeting by officers. Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Councillor Gaines. And in fact, a comprehensive answer, I might add. Do you agree with me that drones with large wingspan and rapid takeoff could accidentally go off course, causing injury to people moving past, especially the takeoff zone? And in view of what you just said, it seems to me it shouldn't take place where I'm actually asked a question relating to, because there's not 7 metres.
I can't disagree, Councillor Barnett, because I actually don't know too much about drones, but I suspect that any machinery that's actually sort of lifted off in the area that you're talking about would cause some injury to somebody if it actually hit them.
Thank you. We come to question C for Councillor Burke, but as Councillor Codling isn't here, we will send you a written answer. And we come to question D from Councillor Abbs to be answered by Councillor Denise Gaines.
I'm very pleased that you, Councillor Abb, approve of the new bus stop markings on Villiers Way. We are rolling out a programme of bus stop clear-away marking improvements across West Berkshire with the aid of Government Bus Service Improvement Plan funding. This will allow bus services to operate more reliably, but also to improve accessibility for those with more restricted mobility. Some motorists park where bus stops are situated, especially if the road markings are unclear. So these improvements will show clearly where these bays should be. As part of this project to make improvements to the clearways in Wash Common, Newbury Town Council, the local councillors were all consulted well before the implementation commenced, and no objections were received during that consultation period. In line with established protocol, residents in the immediate vicinity of the proposed changes, including the residents of Villiers Way and Skip-Ons Close, were also consulted. Those are the road adjacent to the improvements. Following feedback, it was agreed not to progress with the plans for the westbound bus stop markings, which would have had the most impact on Villiers Walk, the one you referred to. We will continue to engage with nearby residents before introducing any further changes. You have a supplementary.
Yes, you won't be surprised to learn that the reason for the question was the residents of Villiers Walk said they weren't consulted, and Villiers Way, Villiers Walk right next door to each other. I was hoping you were going to mention neighbourhood letters and how this was going to go ahead and potentially resolve that. I understand your response, but I'm just looking for assurance that when we draw that circle, you can assure me when we draw that circle around where we make a proposed change, that we include all the residents within the circle. And this was just a minor lapse in my mind, but it led to quite a few emails to me. So
I'm sorry that it led to emails to you.
Happy to do the work.
Unfortunately, we can only send. I mean, the circle you talk about can only be so big. Villiers Walk, I understand, is actually off that area, and it's actually there's no street parking at that point. They've got no street parking at all. So they do park on Villiers Way, but they have no right to park on Villiers Way as such. So I mean, they park there, and they also park in that bus stop. Now the problem with that, of course, is that you park in a bus stop, the bus can't park in its bus stop, and therefore people with limited access, mobility, have to alight into the middle of the road and to try and get back on the pavement. So the reasons for the bus stops being put in place are so that it's safety and accessibility, and to keep the buses on time.
Maybe we could chat afterwards about it.
We move to question E from Councillor Bullock, and apologies, but you will again get a written answer. We hope that Councillor Codling recovers soon. We've had the withdrawal of question F, and we move to question G from Councillor Abbs to be answered by Councillor Jeff Brooks.
Thank you, Councillor Abbs. We assume the detail in your question, although it doesn't specifically state it, that this relates to complaints against councillors. Details of complaints are published every year in a report prepared by the Monitor Officer, which is considered at the Governance Committee and the Council. And you will remember that that report was brought to the Council in October 2023. So you had the detail very recently. Complaints are not recorded on the basis of political party. We, I feel, have very good standards of conduct in West Berkshire, reflected by the fact that there are very few complaints are referred for investigation. If they are, and the conclusion of that investigation is that there has been a breach, the complaint would normally be considered by the Governance Committee in a meeting that is open to the public, as we know because we watched one on YouTube the other day. Specific details of complaints that are not upheld, and therefore don't go any further, are not published. And that is reasonable, I feel, because to protect councillors from having details of complaints published that are not proven. And so you could get spurious complaints keep coming in and coming in, coming in from one vexatious complainant. So that's the basic answer. Do you have a supplementary, sir?
Yes, thank you. The question was about the political, not, and of course, we had that report in October. I don't deny we saw that, but it didn't contain the detail I asked for, which is why I asked for more detail. So to say that it's not recorded, or the name of the complainant is definitely recorded, and it's merely a lookup to figure out which party. I don't understand. It's not asking for naming anybody or anything like that. So could I ask you please to go back and actually look to get the information associated with the actual question, which was the political makeup of the complaints. It is possible to do, so it would only be a choice that you have to go up and on with.
I feel I've given a comprehensive answer. I don't intend to elaborate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we move to question H, again from in Councillor Abb's name. Please, Councillor Brooks, if you can reply to this particular question.
Thank you. There have been 4 complaints that have been referred to an independent investigator since 2019. The average cost of the independent investigator the average cost in each complaint, taking the 4 complaints, was £4,622. I would like to temper that by saying one of those cases, which I got to know extremely well, was a much higher cost than we would normally expect. It went on a long time, was very distressing to the person complained against, very distressing, I would imagine, to the complainant. So for a number of reasons, if you discounted that, and you probably should because it was unusual, the average cost of an investigation is reduced to £2,870. So that's thereabouts. Now, you know as well as I do, when you ask for officer time to be taken into account, you know as well as I do, and everybody else in this chamber, that we do not record officer time in the way that you might wish it to be done. There are no timesheets, and so there is no easy way or way at all of frankly estimating officer time. And we're unwilling to do that if it's going to be so potentially very inaccurate. The amount of time involved at each stage will vary depending on the matters under consideration, as you would expect. It is evident that dealing with complaints can require a considerable amount of time of officer support. It's good, therefore, that the standards of conduct in West Berkshire are good, and dealing with complaints at this level is the exception, and long may that stay the case, and we are respectful and we abide by our code of conduct. Do you have a supplementary?
I think I'll take it offline with you, don't mind. Thank you.
Thank you all. I'm very relieved to say that I don't need to ask for an extension till 10:30. So thank you everybody for their attendance, and I would like to formally close the meeting, but please wait until we've ended the Zoom host to end the live broadcast, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I please ask members to rise while the chairman leaves the chamber?